For a lot of people, when you hear plant-based, they think, well, it's not going to taste good. And what we really want to do is to democratize plant-based foods. We want to make plant-based foods for everyone. We're really excited when we get vegans and vegetarians to try the product, but we think the unlock is when we have food so good that the carnivores out there love eating them as well.
Perri, thank you for joining. We're excited to talk to you today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you were at the Kraft Heinz NotCo. So such an interesting, first of all, just saying it is fun, but it's a partnership. It's like this unique joint venture. So how did this partnership come to be?
Yeah, so NotCo has incredible technology. It's really a food tech company. It started with an artificial intelligence platform that has mapped thousands of plants and can pair those together to make the products, its plant-based products, taste just like the animal-based versions. The benefit to Kraft was they have incredible brands, right? And plant-based foods just has a bad rap. There's a lot of bad stuff out there. But the idea that a Kraft mac and cheese is now plant-based gets people really excited. A lot of people have either currently eat it and are excited to share plant-based, or they remember it from when they were kids. And now, because of the partnership with NotCo, that product can taste just like Kraft mac and cheese, the one you know and love.
That is so wild. So you're taking these tried and true, generationally loved brands and bringing them into this whole new world. That's crazy. It's. Do you ever kind of go, this is nuts, what we're doing, or is it starting to feel normal?
You know, I was familiar with what NotCo did and was before I found out that this joint venture even existed. So when I saw the role, I knew it was perfect. You know, the big company backing and the small company technology. I think food tech is an amazing space. And even when I eat them, they are just incredible products. I'm also a vegan, so it's like right in my happiness wheelhouse.
Okay, great. You mentioned AI, and that's a big word for a lot of people, a big term, but like, tell us about how like, take that, for example. Walk us through a little bit more about like how a product is developed through an AI-driven approach.
Yeah, so it has broken down, I believe it's over 3,000 plants at the molecular level to figure out how to pair them together to make it taste like animal. And I'm going to forget this exact stat, but it's close to 270 quadrillion possible combinations that the artificial intelligence, also known as Chief Chef Officer Giuseppe, to put together. So it will create a recipe. Our food developers will try out the recipe and give it feedback to say that didn't quite have the right texture as chicken. It was kind of a bit salty. And then it makes another version. It's very much learning as we give feedback and really results in incredible products that are created at an accelerated speed from what you'd be able to do.
Wow, that's so incredible.
Yes, that is incredible. And when it comes to marketing plant-based foods, I'd be curious to know what challenges you face and also how you have learned to overcome some of those challenges, or learning to overcome, I should say.
Yes. Well, the most difficult part is that there have been so many products out there that do not taste good. They literally have left a bad taste in people's mouths. So unfortunately, for a lot of people, when you hear plant-based, they think, well, it's not going to taste good. And what we really want to do is to democratize plant-based foods. We want to make plant-based foods for everyone. So we're really excited when we get vegans and vegetarians to try the product, but we think the unlock is when we have food so good that the carnivores out there love eating them as well. So that's what we're after, and that's what we're trying to do. But you have to market differently to get across that barrier to trial of it's not going to taste good. So the approach we've taken is very disruptive. The NotCo brand in general has an amazing snarky personality. I mean, not chicken, not burger, not mayo.
Yeah.
And to bring that to life, we focused on very disruptive creative. So we partnered with Gut, that's based out of Miami. Incredible agency. And they really push us to be brave. They're saying it's no gut, no glory. And we've got incredible creative out there now. There's one called Mayo Haters that's really focused on showing that our mayo is different. So instead of a traditional ad where someone eats it and says, that tastes amazing, it's people who absolutely hate mayo that were put into kind of a market research style setting, and they can't take it because it tastes exactly like mayo. It's hilarious and incredible.
That's really that's really smart. That's really fun. And, I mean, but that's really brave too, because you're
It is brave.
Yeah, it's brave.
And then the most recently we launched one for our cheese slices. And instead of having, again, people taste them and say, it's little mice that are choosing between real cheese and the Kraft cheese slices. So yeah, very, very brave, very disruptive because we have to prove we're different.
I always think about in these categories where you're out front, you're leading, it's just a lot of education. It sounds like you're educating, but you're just doing it in a really fun, bold way.
Yes. Yeah, you got to grab people's attention when plant-based has got a bit of a baggage of taste with it.
Perri, tell us your journey, your career journey that got you to this point, this such a unique spot.
Yeah, absolutely. So in college, I stumbled upon a market research class that just everything clicked, loved it. And so right out of college, I joined IRI, which is now Circana. And I've been fueled by analytics, insights, hunger to understand consumers better. And I joined the Kellogg company, started in insights, moved to innovation, actually on Morningstar Farms. So I've got some plant-based in my past and sugar as well. And then on to brand and focusing on strategy. I've really been focused on my career of trying to round myself out, make myself a better marketer by trying things like shopper marketing, e-commerce marketing, digital marketing. And then beyond that, big brands, small brands, global brands. And where I found the magic spot for me is small and scaling brands. It is what I love. You can really leave your fingerprints on a brand like that. And to be able to say, no one knew about this product until I was part of the team that created it and made this thing that you know and love and you see in grocery stores too. It's so fun. What led me to this particular role, though, was the opportunity to put together two incredible companies with two incredible capabilities. And it reminded me a lot of my time on Fairlife with a joint venture between Coca-Cola and a farmers co-op, having a similar relationship of this amazing food tech company with the backing of an established company.
Wow, what a journey. And I don't know how you found time how I know you is I had the pleasure of serving alongside you as a mentor on SKU. SKU is the country's largest CPG accelerator based out of Austin. And we got to work together helping guide Freshly, which is a ready-to-drink cocktail. But I don't know how you made time for that now that you tell me all that you're doing.
Another thing that's incredibly inspiring, though, to hear from people that are in that position even farther back than I've ever been instead of some of my own startup company journeys. So that alone, that work we were doing, Prentice, is inspiring.
Talk about the audiences you're trying to reach and how open they are to plant-based foods. Are you talking to people that are already eating plant-based or trying to bring in new audiences completely?
We're targeting a very broad set that we call the flexers. So people that kind of dip in and out of plant-based.
Okay.
Within there, I think there's really a circle as you move in. So there might be people that intend to, then closer into that target is people who have, and then further into the center are people that are regularly consuming. So that's what we're trying to do, to kind of broaden out from that area where people are already eating those types of products and get them to not just eat more, but to try across the different categories. So people are pretty well aware that plant-based burgers exist, plant-based chicken is closer, certainly plant-based milk. But a lot of the other categories, the categories that Kraft Heinz has incredible strength in, are very tiny and very underdeveloped. People don't even really know that some of these categories have plant-based offerings.
How is distribution now, right? Is it pretty widely available?
Yeah. So we're still scaling a few categories. Our hot dogs and dinner sausage are literally rolling out right now. So get them for your 4th of July parties. But we've had the Kraft Heinz sales force behind us who know these categories, know these buyers, and are helping us to get these products in store. And they're doing an incredible job because they have those relationships and they know the categories so well.
Okay, amazing. So going back to AI, you are so entrenched in it. Are there things that you have learned along the way that you could say, hey, if you're a marketer out there, here are some things to be thinking about, dip your toe into for innovation? You're so far along, but tell me what you've learned that could be passed along.
Yeah, I'll say a couple things. One, food tech is incredibly powerful. And before this role, I was at Fairlife, which is a lot of people know Fairlife, but it's also a food tech company that there's so much power in the ability to do that. The other benefit of AI specifically, though, is the speed at which it can go. While the NotCo AI has over 20 patents across countries, AI can do a lot of different things And some people, I believe, are still kind of afraid of it, worried it's going to take people's jobs. And I always give that example of Giuseppe being able to offer up 270 quadrillion possible combinations. No human could do that. There's also a really fun stat of if everybody tried to make those combinations, it would still take us like longer than the Earth spin around.
Right.
It's just
Right. Yes.
so much resources, and think beyond ways to use AI. I think that there's huge opportunity to involve that more in our marketing, and I'm hungry and curious to find out those ways and find out those pockets of people that are dabbling in that themselves.
I remember going to the snow cone stand when my girls were little, and they'd say something on the window, something like, over 10,000 combinations when you think about all the different, nasty syrups you can put in the ice. So 270 quadrillion, billion, jillion. Yeah, it's really incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
I don't think I knew that was a number before this.
One of the pain points we have heard from our audience of marketing executives is a lot of times we're heads down in the work and busy in the day-to-day. It's hard to stay ahead and gather what are those trends and really make sure that you're on the cutting edge of how things are evolving. And I'm sure, you would be honest, there's been moments in your career that's been the case, and there's so much to learn. So it's hard to even narrow down what pieces of information to absorb. But I'm curious, in your role as head of strategy and marketing, how do you stay ahead of industry trends and continuously learn and just stay informed?
Yeah, you really do have to make time for that. Mm-hmm. And I think that as a part of my role, for example, I have to know what's happening with my competition. I have to know what's happening with the industry. Absolutely, like table stakes. Where I find a lot of value is talking with my friends that are not in food, talking with my friends that maybe even aren't even in the CPG industry, hearing from other people, listening to podcasts like exactly like this to get those different perspectives and hear where things are being applied. Who would have thought that AI could make better food, right? You only knew about that because that there's technology companies starting to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. When you just mentioned competition,
yeah,
obviously, there is competition in this space now, but like when you think about the biggest hurdles that you're facing, whether it's competition or something else, education, awareness, whatever those things are, I'm just curious, what are some of those barriers, I guess, that are still in front of you right now?
Yeah, taste is really the biggest one. Still today, there are a lot of bad products out there. There are some good ones. I got a lot of respect for some of our competitors, but unfortunately, that has created distance for people in terms of what they're expecting. Yeah. They've been let down. So it's a bit of a pullback in trying to get them back in to try those products again.
Do you think that, you said there's so many bad products out there, which I agree, that's true. Do you think that there's just like this tacit acceptance in the marketplace? Like, I guess this is how it has to taste. I'm going to if I'm going to make a good lifestyle choice. And so now you got to really back up the bus and say, no, it doesn't have to taste like cardboard.
Absolutely. And that doesn't just go for plant-based foods. That's unfortunately a thing many people have in their brain about healthy foods too. I'm not going to lie. I try to be a very healthy eater, but sometimes that comes into my head as well, that I have to give a trade-off to make something healthy and it's not going to taste as good. And when you find those pockets where the magic happens is when a company can overrule that with fantastic taste.
Yeah. Well, you being a vegan must be so super helpful to your journey. I got to get some good recipes from you because I sometimes have that limiting belief that if I'm going to eat something healthy, it's not going to taste good. So
I gotcha.
Yeah. What's a piece of advice or insight that's been critical to your success as you've been there that's come your way that you want to share?
Yeah, I think challenge the norms and find the places where, in my particular situation with a joint venture, find the places where each company can give you value. So if any of your listeners have a similar situation, each side of the business are very, very different and can provide value in different ways. For NotCo, incredible patented artificial intelligence to design those products and design them at speed. And then the Kraft Heinz, incredible strength, both on its brands and in its ability to commercialize and execute. So think about that in terms of bringing two together. But even if you're not a joint venture, you could be thinking about how your partners and suppliers can provide you that value as well.
Well, as you look ahead in just what's on the horizon, I'm curious to know what inspires you, what kind of lights your fire, gets you out of bed in the morning lately.
Yes, it's this potential to democratize plant-based foods, to get people eating them just as a regular part of their lives. I think there's so much potential in what that can do for people's health, for the health of the earth. And I believe if we do things right, we will scale the plant-based industry. Like I was saying, a lot of the categories we're playing in are very small. So once people taste our products and prove that, then we're going to get people eating mac and cheese as regular as they're eating a veggie burger.
So sitting in the middle in marketing, where you're heading up strategy and marketing, I feel like marketers nowadays are at the center of so many things. They have to have a pulse on sales and innovation and customers and data and research and paid media, and just, you really have a strong handle of what's going on within a company. But that can come with challenges too. Like, tell me what, Perri, you face day to day that are challenges that you kind of have to work at and chip away at.
Yeah, I would say in this startup-y joint venture world, one of the most challenging things, and at least for me particularly, being a lifelong learner and extremely curious, is deciding what to do first. There are so many ways that we could be building a business. And then in a startup world, you have to have agility. So you may have a wonderful, amazing strategy. It makes total sense. Everyone agrees. And then you find out when you try to execute it and market, it doesn't work. It's not going to show up the beautiful, perfect way that you had planned. And so you're kind of restarting and figuring things out and implementing that at the same time. So it's some challenge to focus on what matters most and know when to kind of say, this is enough information and I'm going to move, because at a startup, you do not have time to check every single box. I'm a big believer in the 90% there and tweak after you go.
Yeah, there's a lot of truths of, like, once you have all the information, it's too late. Like, you kind of have to move.
Then you're third to market.
So that's really, yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, really appreciate getting the time with you. Such an interesting role you have and everything you guys are working on. I can't wait to try these products and see what's next. So, Perri, thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.